You are live. Hey, everybody. How y'all doing today? This is a great day here in Fort Worth. My name is Jim Austin. We're doing North Texas Talk with Jim Austin and have a special guest with us in the studio. And if you know someone that you'd like to learn something about, give us a call at Jim A at Jim Austin Online. I've been doing this podcast now for about 6 months, have pivoted and moved this way and that way. We are here at the studios at 2201 Dottie Lynn Parkway, Suite 139. Come on by. If you're thinking about doing your own podcast, we got it set up for you. We can take care of all of it. But we try to interview people that are making things happening in the Metroplex and in the world, So, Jim moves around quite a bit because, most people say, Jim, you're everywhere. Well, kind of, sort of. I'm going to be a lot less everywhere now because I'm going to be on my podcast. But I've got a special guest in the house. His name is Jared Howard. And we're going to talk to him about the National Juneteenth Museum and what's going on with that. I had the pleasure of hearing him make his presentation at the Fort Worth Rotary Club about 2 or 3 months ago, and I was just so impressed with this young man. Jared, how are you doing today, man?
I'm good, Jim. How you doing?
Man, it is good, to have you here in the studios and helping me get my ratings up. Okay?
You'll probably get people signed off because you got me on here, but okay, if you say so.
Well, Jared, you and I see each other around town quite a bit.
Yep.
And before we jump into the museum, I'd like to find out about you, where you grew up and went to school and what you've been doing. Because when I heard you present at Rotary, I said, man, this brother got it together, and then when you talk about brothers in town that got it together and presenting at the Downtown International Rotary Club, we used to be the third largest in the world. I think we're about the eighth right now. But tell me about you, Jared.
Yeah, so first off, thank you for having me. I hope I don't turn any of your viewers away. But yeah, I'm Jared Howard. I'm just a boy from Stop Six.
Oh,
I've got really deep roots in Stop Six. My great-great-grandmother was Amanda Davis, who, as you probably know, was the first Black property owner in Stop Six. Amanda Street, which was at one point in time the main thoroughfare through Stop Six, was named after her.
Well, that's my hood because when I got into commercial real estate 44 years ago, that's where I worked. Right. Stop Six, all of Southeast Fort Worth, because the other brokers, they didn't want to come over there.
Right.
But Jim Austin did. So I staked my career in what I did. But yeah, Amanda, I've been on Amanda many times. As a matter of fact, there's some big stuff going on over there.
That's right. Hughes House.
Yes.
What's going up on Amanda?
Yeah.
On the corner of Rosedale and Amanda. We're really excited about the way the gateway into the community is changing.
Yeah.
Right? So we're really excited about that.
Yes, sir. Well, tell us more about your family and, Stop Six.
Yeah.
Tell them what stop. First of all, tell my audience when you say Stop Six, what that means.
So before the highway system was built, before there were cars, in fact, there was rail. And there was a rail that took people between Dallas and Fort Worth. And the sixth stop on the interurban railway was in Stop Six, what we now know as Stop Six. It used to be called Cowanville, named after one of the largest landowners of the time, named Mr. Cowan. And when my great-great-grandmother founded it, her and some of the other settlers changed the name to Stop Six because it was most known for being the sixth stop on the interurban rail between Dallas and Fort Worth. And so that's the origin of the name, if you would.
Yeah, and Fort Worth has got so much strong history right now. I think we're the 12th largest.
Soon to be 10th.
Soon to be 10. You heard it right here on Jim Austin Online.
In fact, by the 2025 census, which is not a major census, Fort Worth will be the 10th. I think there are about 200 people behind Austin and about 150 people behind Charlotte. And so Fort Worth is intended to usurp Austin and Charlotte on the top most populated cities because Fort Worth, as you know, and as your listeners probably know, is still the country's fastest growing big city, right? It's a really weird thing to see Fort Worth being in vogue. It hadn't always been that way.
Yes, sir. Yeah. I mean, we also know it as this is where the West begins.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's so much rich history
Mm-hmm.
here in Fort Worth, and I got here as quick as I could. You
Love it.
know, and American Express brought me into town, and I said, I like this little small town, and didn't want to go back to New York, become a director, president. I said, look, I'm gonna stay right here in Fort Worth.
Back in Fort Worth. We've been here ever since, and we appreciate it being here. But no, Jim, I went to school in Fort Worth ISD. I went to what used to be known as Dunbar Elementary. Now it's M.I. Logan Elementary. And I was born in the 70s. And so I was on the cusp of that integration or desegregation of schools. And so I got bused to Atwood McDonald. You know where that is, over in Meadowbrook.
Yes.
And then I went to Dunbar 6th grade center, 7th and 8th grade center. And then I went to ODY High School, which is where I graduated from. So I'm a proud chaparral. But if you cut me, you'll see some Wildcat blood in there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My daughter graduated from Dunbar
Mhm.
High School, you know, so yeah, that rich history of Coach Hughes and
That's right.
the legends that come out of Fort Worth.
Absolutely.
You know, so
Absolutely.
upon graduating from high school,
Yeah.
what happened after that?
Yeah, so I graduated high school and went to the University of North Texas, which is where I got my undergraduate degree. And ironically, when I graduated from college, I came right back to Stop Six. In the early 90s, there was the creation of this banking center on the corner of Ramey and 820,
Yes.
right? It was called Bank One at the time. Now it's called Chase.
Yes.
That was my first job out of college. And so it was full circle because I grew up in this community, left and went to school, and then came back to the community, got planted in a very visible location. So people that had known me all of my life and knew my family lineage took a great deal of pride in the fact that I had come back and got my first job in the hood, if you will.
Yes.
So I lived in a glass house. Right?
Yes.
So I had to behave correctly.
Yes.
Yes.
Tell me about your parents and, you know, your upbringing, your sisters and brothers and
Yep.
family.
So I am an only child. And I was
Well,
raised
that's why you're spoiled.
I don't know about that.
No, yeah. I knew there was
I don't know
something
about
about that, you know.
I am an only child raised by a single woman, a single parent.
Single mother, okay.
So my mother did her thing in making sure that I acquired all the skills and tools necessary to be able to navigate life on my own. All of my upbringing has been in Stop Six. Now I said I'm an only child, and I am. And I say I was raised by a single woman, but again, I was born in the 70s. And so in the 70s, we were still in the era of community. And so while I had one parent, I had a whole community, whole network of people that poured into me and continue to pour into me. Life's a little bit different today. My cousins and aunts and uncles all lived generally within a 4 or 5 mile radius of me. Many of them lived blocks away. So when you talk about community, I grew up in a space of community, and that just unfortunately doesn't exist anymore. But while my mother raised me, there were a lot of people that had a role in my upbringing, for sure.
Okay. North Texas. I mean, I've had interns out of North Texas.
Yep.
You know, I always keep an intern around me.
That's
you
right.
know, to get that latest education and how to move the dial forward.
Well, you got a lot to share with them too, right? You got a lot of experience
Exactly.
they need to glean from. So it's mutually beneficial,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. But Dexter Hickman
Mhm.
was with me for 2 years, and bad boy out of School of Business, International School of Business. What was your major?
Marketing.
Marketing.
So
That's
both-
what my degree is in.
Marketing?
Yeah.
Yeah, so both of my degrees are, I went to Dallas Baptist for my MBA,
Okay.
and both my degrees are in marketing. I'm a seller of BS, Jim.
Yes. We're part of that network.
Yeah, no
You
doubt.
know, and I tell young people when I meet them, make sure whatever your major is, doctor, lawyer,
That's right.
whatever, get you some marketing classes, some business classes, because the world moves around
That's right.
being able to produce and sell your product.
Without regard to what you do professionally, somebody needs to buy it, right? So you got to be in sales mode, right? If you're a doctor, people need to know that you're the best doctor, right? So how do you make people aware? You got to market,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
yeah, you're absolutely right about that.
And marketing tools is, you know, the best advantage of marketing is word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And it used to be flyers.
Mm-hmm.
Now flyers have moved back a little further with the element of the internet
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah, the beauty of digital media is you can distribute it a lot simpler, quicker, easier, right? So you don't have to go to every event and distribute flyers like you used to have to do.
That's right.
You know?
I'm known for handing.
I'm sure if I pull up your jacket, you got some in your pocket right now.
Well, I just ordered 5,000 flyers on a project that I'm very dear about. You know, we're putting in a food truck park over in Southeast Fort Worth, right there next to Rocket Ship Charter School. So, you know, flyers will be important to that because you can go over to the Renaissance Square and hand-to-hand battle. So there's still an element, but they're not number two and all. So after you graduated, you went into the banking industry?
I did. I spent the first several years of my career banking, Bank One Chase. I got promoted and I started working downtown, what used to be known as the Chase Building, the building that in 2000 was torn down, not torn down, but was damaged by a tornado.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So it was an interesting gym. This is in the years, maybe right at 2000 or so, which is not that long ago. I was still taking the subway, right? The Fort Worth subway to get to work. And so I'd ride the subway into the Tandy Center, walk through the Tandy Center, and then come up into the Chase Building. So wasn't that long ago. Interesting to see that was only 20-ish years ago.
Sure.
And then I left there and got recruited to go work at a company called Daimler Chrysler and their remarketing group. It was a parent company of Chrysler and Mercedes. At one point, those companies were married.
Yes.
It was a match made in hell, and they did not get along well, so they have since divorced.
Yes.
But I worked there 6 years, and then I got recruited to go work at BNSF here in Fort Worth.
That's where we seen each other around town because that's one of my museum, the National Multicultural Western Heritage Museum. That's one of our biggest funder was them because we started the thing that we do every year for kids, Technology Day.
Yep.
We started that over 30 years ago.
Yep.
So you know Birdie and
Joe Fowles.
Joe Fowles. Yeah. So family. So you always said hanging out with them. If I had to do my career over again, I'd like to get into the railroad business and maybe run a train.
Well, I can guarantee you neither Bert Sadberry or Joe Fowles were running trains.
Right.
But it was a really enlightening experience for me. Spent 12 years at BNSF.
Okay.
And then I left BNSF and went to be an executive at the Fort Worth Chamber of Commerce downtown.
That's right. There it is. So we've been around each other, you know, for 40 years. You know, one way or another. You know, and then we really never sat down and broke bread. We'd always see each other and be respectful brothers of each other. And I always liked that. So when I saw you got the nod to be the CEO of the National Juneteenth Museum, I said, wow. That had to be a tremendous amount of responsibility and to be called for that position because right now Juneteenth is a national holiday.
That's right.
And we hanging out with, you know, my grandmother, Opal Lee.
That's right.
You know, when I got here 44 years ago, I started buying real estate and I bought a rent house on the street where Opal Lee was over there in Jessup Mine. So I've known her a while, but she's been promoting that and talking about it. And I was at the Walk in Fort Worth. I was over there in Dallas hanging out. So let's talk about this institution that's getting ready to come and bring light to Juneteenth. Now, so many communities are celebrating Juneteenth, but now we are the home of the National Museum.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, Miss Opal is, for all intents and purposes, the face of Juneteenth globally, right? If you Google Juneteenth, I can guarantee you her image will be somewhere in the images. And she happens to be a proud Fort Worthian that has had a Juneteenth museum, as you probably remember, for the last 20 years, right there on the corner of Rosedale and Evans, right? And so the idea was to scale that, given the growing popularity of Juneteenth, that is to a large degree the byproduct of her work, right? So interestingly enough, this is how we know it's a God thing, right? So we were talking about scaling the museum into a national museum even before Juneteenth became a federal holiday, right? So when it became a federal holiday, it was serendipitous to us. It was like, wow, this is a stroke of grace And so, two things with the museum project we hope to do, Jim. A, we hope to illuminate Juneteenth, because the fact of the matter is, we believe most Americans couldn't effectively articulate what Juneteenth is, what it means, why we celebrate it. Is it worthy of celebration? And we think that it is. And so someone has to tell that story in the event the history books don't, right?
Yes, sir.
And then the second thing is to catalyze revitalization of a part of the city that has been dark for a very long time, right? So the beautiful thing about the museum is it will allow us to do some of this with other people's money. So people from other parts of the country and the world will converge on Fort Worth to see the museum, spend their money in Fort Worth, and in the process of doing so, they'll help revitalize the historic South Side of Fort Worth, which is the genesis of Black life in the city of Fort Worth.
Well, that corner is so important because, I've been doing commercial real estate now for 44 years. And
Mm-hmm.
that whole Evans and Rosedale,
Mm-hmm.
I was able to pull those 80 families together
Mm-hmm.
to sell their property to the city of Fort Worth. And then also on Rosedale and Main Street,
Mm-hmm.
I was working for the county hospital, JPS,
Yes,
and they
yes.
asked me. So that was 9 blocks
Yeah.
that I had to put together. So I got a lot of patience, bro.
You do. Clearly you do.
So you got to have patience when you negotiate
Yeah.
and all. But right now, there's a new excitement about a developer coming in that's
Mhm.
going to develop the rest of that land that we put together.
Mhm.
I haven't met them yet. Do you
Mhm.
know much about what they're going to put over there?
Yeah, I spent some time with them. A company called Royal Capital, Black-owned company,
Okay.
out of Wisconsin. The vision is still evolving, but for the most part, they want to do. It's going to be bound by multifamily housing, and then peppered with some retail and some cultural elements. We are working collaboratively to make sure that everything that all of us do works in sync with the people in the community, right? Because the people in this community have been suffering from economic destitution for 40 years plus,
Yes.
right? You remember when you first got to Fort Worth, how vibrant that corridor was and how it represented the epicenter of Black life in the city of Fort Worth, certainly historically. Over the last,
The Aquarium Club.
That's right.
Down there.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. You
Yeah.
remember Drake's Cafeteria?
Ate
all of
there
that.
many times.
That's right. You would stand on the corner of Evans and Rosedale and throw a rock. You were going to hit something black,
That's
right? A
it.
black house, a black business, a black church, a black something black. And so it's seen better days. And so as Fort Worth evolves and grows, it's important that all of the parts of the city evolve and grow, including this one. And so the museum will help with that. And these other parts of the development will all work together to make sure that this part of Fort Worth is not excluded from the growth.
What is the time period now? Because I
For the
know,
museum?
yeah, because I know you had to pivot
We did.
a little bit. See, I like that word pivot.
Yeah.
See, the general people being an entrepreneur,
That's right.
if you're going to be a successful entrepreneur, you can't be embarrassed, or not the word embarrassed, but you have to look for opportunity as you move forward, and you have to stop and pivot
That's right.
and to make things happen.
Yeah,
So,
you have to be nimble for sure.
yes.
The forces of the world will force you to be nimble. And if you can't be nimble, you're not going to be an entrepreneur, not a successful one anyway.
Yes.
So we intend to break ground within the next 90 to 120 days, right? There are some T's that have to be crossed and I's that have to be dotted before we do that with the city. But we intend to break ground in a very short period of time. And so the reason for that, Jim, is because we're trying to expedite the construction for a lot of reasons. A, we want Miss Opal to be able to enjoy it. And she'll
Yeah.
be 98 next week,
Yeah.
right? And so while she might outlive all of us, the data says she has a lot shorter time than most of the rest of us do. So as a consequence, we want to be good stewards and get this thing built as quickly as we possibly can for her. But then the community needs it, right? And so they can ill afford to wait while the rest of the city rises. Like the Phoenix, this part needs to rise as well. So we hope to break ground in the next 90, 120 days, or at the very least have a site dedication, right? Which will be followed by an official putting shovel on the ground.
Would you make sure I'm invited?
Absolutely.
Yes. I
Absolutely.
will say that right here on air.
Absolutely.
That I want to be invited once you determine that date.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you, from a real estate standpoint, I've put my career on Southeast Fort Worth. So I encourage you, and I tell people all the time that area is exploding
It's coming.
as we talk about it. So when you put a national institution like the Juneteenth National Museum, the value of land will will appreciate.
Yeah.
So that's for sure. But I'm so excited. We are getting ready to celebrate Judge Davis's birthday.
Next Saturday, I think
Yeah,
it is,
next
isn't it?
Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah, he turned 100 years old.
Another centenarian.
Yeah.
He and Miss Opal are legacies from Fort Worth, in and around Fort Worth, for sure.
Yes, and you can hear it right here on Jim Austin Online. We have purchased the Brooks Clinic down at 2200 Evans Avenue. So we're turning that into a cultural center, medical use, but we're putting an art gallery in there
I love it.
dedicated to Miss Opal Lee, Judge Davis, and the 6 African-American doctors that worked out of that clinic that all graduated from Howard University. So, so that area is sensitive to me.
No doubt.
And when I came to Fort Worth, I knew no one but Clarence and Renee Brooks. So when I got here, they kind of adopted me part of the family.
You're a Howard guy, so
Yeah, the family. So,
shout out to HU.
yes, so much legacy. So, well, I've enjoyed talking to you. Do you have a website or some place where people can come donate
Absolutely.
to the museum? Why don't you share that?
Yeah, so you can find the museum online anywhere. It's National Museum, www.nationaljuneteenthmuseum.org, or on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, all of the social media outlets. The museum has a footprint. And so I'll encourage you and your followers to go and follow. You're welcome to donate. I try not to spend a whole lot of time asking people for money because I think in many instances, and Jim can speak to this, the product will sell itself. If you go look at the kind of work we're doing, you'll probably be compelled to make a donation. So what I will invite you to do is go check out the website and see some of the things that we're doing and what the vision of the museum is and how it will how we will reimagine what we see when we look at the historic South Side once the museum is built. So
Sure.
Always appreciative of you, Jim, and all the great work you do. I'm glad to have you here in Fort Worth, despite the fact that you are a member of that red and white fraternity.
Well, we're men of achievement, and I know.
I walked right into that, didn't I?
Right. Men of achievement, Howard University. Matter of fact, our fraternity house is right up the street,
It is.
So
It is.
that area is just like, boom.
Shout out to the Kappas for having the foresight to buy property, before the rest of us did. That was a brilliant move.
Yes, sir. Well, you're on North Texas Talk with Jim Austin and Jared Howard. And make sure you share and join all of my social media, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. I got it all. And communicating, because that's one way to get it out. But it's been a pleasure talking to you. I always learn a little bit more about you. I want to be a part of your posse.
I want to be part of yours. And then I can afford one of these.
Go out and get you a Stetson. Get ready for the Cowboys of Color Rodeo coming up on Martin Luther King's birthday, January the 20th on Monday. It's a holiday. We're marching. Tickets are available now. Go to cowboysofcolor.org. Please be on time because Jim's going to be on that horse riding in the grand entry. I got my contract signed, so I'm really excited about the rodeo, and it's always sold out. Get your tickets early, but support the museum and Miss Opal Lee and the things that Jared and Miss Lee are doing within our community.
Thanks for having us, Jim.
It's so good to hang out with you.
Appreciate you, brother.
Okay.
We'll do it again.
I'm gonna hit that button because my engineer had to go back to work, so, but it's all right. Bam.
One more time.
Okay.
And then you go, here you go.